10 p.m. We're recording, and this is the Environment and Sustainability Committee of the Joint San Pedro Neighborhood Councils. And as I search for the agenda to put on the screen, I don't know that you can see it. Can you see it? I think not.
Sure.
Not yet.
Oh, shoot. I've got everything open. While I'm struggling with that, let me go around and let's introduce ourselves, please. I'm Richard Havenick, the chair of the Coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Council Environment and Sustainability Committee. And as of the past year or two, the chair of the Joint San Pedro Neighborhood Council's Environment and Sustainability Committee. I'll pass to Pat Nave. And after you're through, Pat, if you would name the person to whom you pass the introduction, please.
Okay, I know a few of the people. I don't know everybody. I'm Pat Nave. I'm a member of the Northwest San Pedro Environment Sustainability Committee. I'll pass the person on my left who's got the baseball cap on for LA, and it is opening day. So go ahead.
That would be me. My name is Richard Watson. I'm here in coastal San Pedro on Pacific. I've been living here about a year, been getting involved in local activities. I'm an active member of USGBC LA. They have a urban landscape committee. I just got involved with the PVPLC through Alan pointing me in the right direction. And I'm also have a plot up at San Pedro Community Garden, and I'm on the water committee there and working on some short-term, long-term, kind of rainwater conservation and rainwater management practices up there, irrigation, all those kind of things. And I'll tag the woman in the middle of my screen.
Gwendolyn.
Would that be me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woman in the middle. Okay. I didn't know if it's oriented.
Well,
This
people's
is,
Zooms are not the same, so I can't, like, if everyone does the left, it might, who knows? Anyway.
So I'm Gwendolyn Henry, the chair of the Northwest San Pedro Sustainability Committee. And that's pretty much it for now.
Do the names show up under the boxes? I'll pass to Mel. Will you introduce yourself? Mr. Wilson, will you introduce yourself, please?
No, you make me sound old when you say Mr. Wilson. I am 69 years old, but I don't feel old. Mel Wilson, and it's good to be with you. I thought I'd log in. Some of you may see the sign behind me. But a little bit about me. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, attended church on Manchester and Broadway for years, and I'm a candidate for mayor of Los Angeles. I served on the Metro board for Mayor Reardon. For 4 years, we built the 105 freeway while I was on the board in the Green Line. Served on the Metro board again years later for Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, and we opened up the Expo line. And one of my concerns is the port area. The air quality, I know a lot of folks who have respiratory conditions, and they're concerned about the poor air quality. And I'm not sure if you have poor air quality there. I imagine you do with all those ships going in and out. What I'd like to do is convert all of our Metro fleet and the DOT fleets to zero emission fuel. We did this when I was on the Metro board in the 90s. We went from diesel and methanol to low emission compressed natural gas. I think there may be technology to do the same thing with some of these loading and unloading and offloading vehicles and cranes that are at the port. So thank you for letting me share this time with you. I have probably about 3 or 4 other neighborhood councils I was going to try to get onto the night, but I'd love to listen in for a few more minutes to hear more about what you're doing. I have a copy of your agenda. Mel Wilson, website is melformayor.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Mr. Wilson. Mel Wilson.
You're just gonna make me old no matter what, huh?
And Mr. Norman Thomas, will you introduce yourself, please?
Sure, thank you. So Thomas Norman, I teach at Dominguez Hills. I've been in Southern California for 15 years, lived in San Pedro now about 9 years, was across from the University in Carson before that. And a new member of the Sustainability Committee that was in the March meeting got appointed to this committee. I'm also on our Port Committee, our newly formed or reformed Port Committee. And this is for Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council, as well as the Youth and Outreach Committee. So got 3 committee assignments now I'm trying to juggle, but I'm happy to be here and to work on things. There's a big intersection between a lot of the port issues and the air quality and environmental and sustainability issues.
Thank you, Thomas. Mark Delgadillo, will you introduce yourself, please?
I'm actually just here to spectate.
All right. And are you a stakeholder in any of the neighborhood councils?
No, this is just I'm doing a school project.
All right. Well, welcome to our meeting.
All right,
Let's
thank you.
proceed into public comment. Do we have
Got
public?
Alan Franz, got Alan Franz.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. We got to the bottom of my Zoom screen, but we sure did miss the top contender there. Alan, would you introduce yourself?
My name's Alan. Alan Franz. I'm an underling in the Coastal Environment and Sustainability Committee. And I was born in faraway Long Beach, but I've lived in San Pedro since the mid-70s.
Thank you, Alan. And do we have okay. Also, so you all might know or help me stay on my toes. Right now, we have no attendees waiting to get into the meeting. So I'm going to move to the next item, public comment. Do we have a person that wishes to deliver public comment? We have 2 hands. I think Alan, I believe, and then we also have Richard Watson. So for now, we have 3 folks in line. We'll go Alan, then Gwen, then Richard, if you would, please, Alan.
Richard's the only one that actually raised his hand properly.
Yeah, I'll go last.
At your pleasure, who would like to go first? All right, we'll go Alan.
Alan got his hand up finally. Okay, you're last, Alan, with your hand. I'll go first because I got my digital hand up first.
Excellent. Okay, Richard.
I just have a couple of points of information. One is the Cool Blocks program is happening down here at the 2900 block of Pacific Ave. That program is a resiliency and community building program that is being run through the Neighborhood Council Sustainability, aggregate body. I think I mentioned this a couple meetings ago that, the city of LA won a grant to support a program to get 200 cool blocks up and running in LA. It's all about getting your neighbors together and coming over and sitting in your neighborhood and sitting in your living room and talking about how to conserve energy, support each other, do emergency preparedness, lower your carbon footprint, improve your energy profile, your water usage, so on and so forth. It's about, depending on how the group wants to do it, it's a 5 or 6 month program, a couple of organizing meetings, and then 8 topical meetings as are laid out in the program. And I'll be doing that, having the info session for inviting all my neighbors to come by on May 1st. And I'll forward the invite to you guys too, just as an FYI. And you're welcome to stop by and observe. And if you're contemplating maybe doing a cool blocks in your neighborhood too. I think there are 2 other cool blocks in San Pedro. I haven't found out. Oh, you're doing one? Great. Haven't found who else is doing it. So now I got one there. And so that's one. And the other thing I just want to mention, because I just found out yesterday about the statewide 30 by 30 initiative. They want to increase the amount of public land under conservation to 30% of the total land in California. They're currently at 24%. And so they want to expand the amount of land by 25% in the next 8 years, get to 30% by 2030. And God knows what that's going to kick off, but there's that's why, I want to get to know what it takes to do land conservation and help find parcels and put them under that kind of, use, best and highest use for the community in that regard. So I can post a link to that website if you haven't already. The state has already partnered with Esri, the leader in GIS systems for mapping and solutions and so forth, and put together a map of the current land that's already under management. It's not just land, they also say land and coastal, 30% of the coast under conservation as well. So I'm really excited about that initiative. Who knows what it's going to bring to a neighborhood near us.
Great report, Richard. We're glad to have you, and I'll look forward to the news of for the May 1st Cool Blocks meeting. Gwendolyn or Alan, who wants to go after that great report?
Gwendolyn had her hand up before me.
Okay. Well, Richard took some of the wind out of my sails. Yes, the cool blocks. Actually, you had to volunteer. You had to sign up for it a while ago. Apparently, Los Angeles, when they received the grant, it was about $1 million. There's a lot of money. Yeah, I'm going to be trying to focus on public safety and try to do some of the other agenda items of saving water through landscaping and other things as well. The two items I wanted to mention, which will probably be agenda topics later. Now, Patrick O'Donnell, of course, has resubmitted for the including the Dominguez Channel watershed in Santa Catalina Island in the San Gabriel and Lower Los Angeles Rivers and Mountains Conservancy funding. This is the fourth time. This is the fourth time he's submitted a bill. It's never gotten out of committee. It actually did. Actually, let me correct that. It did get out of committee and went to assembly and died. They ran out of time. That's kind of how it's been working out. But it's AB 2897. I would like to see this body and all of the neighborhood councils within the harbor to support this bill, and because it's a great benefit towards naturalizing the river and funding for Santa Catalina Island as well. It's all about watershed. Then you wanted me to talk about the Healthy Buildings, Healthy Places design standards. Okay, so this did come from Diana. She kind of gave us a heads up that there are landscape and site design standards that are being built by city planning, and this is something that a lot of us have been discussing and hemming and hawing about, that they really need to be updated. And so yeah, there we are. Richard has it up. I suggest we all look at it, inspect it, and I'm sure the NCSA is also looking at this very heavily. This is our opportunity to really make some dramatic changes in the way we design our cities, and knowing that we are a very large city and we are trying to conserve energy and water and everything else, and resolve the inequities that we have, the economic inequities we have throughout the city. It's quite the imbalance. It's time to deal with this, and this is a really good opportunity to voice this out. I've got some pet projects, including the funding in AB 97 that really should be focused on open spaces, especially in Wilmington and other areas like that. Anyway, that's about it. That's it. Yes. And Mel, thank you for coming. We had a discussion in front of the theater, in front of the Grand Theater that day of
Yes, the day of the forum.
That's right. And I'm truly glad to see you here.
Thank you.
Before we leave,
how's your dog?
Oh, he's right here next to me. He's okay.
before we leave, Gwendolyn, and the mention of the Healthy Buildings, Healthy Places and AB 2897, let me say two things, please, before we leave those items. Quickly, number one is, as Diana Nave informed us, the city anticipates releasing a draft ordinance in May with a public hearing in June and a final draft by July. So if we were going to consider this item, we would need to review and come informed and capable to, someone would need to draft some informed comments based on a review of the proposal. And we would need to do that by the May, for example, our May neighborhood council meetings to get it on the boards for approval. So I don't know how we would need to do that at the next meeting. So I can include it on the agenda. I do hope that we'll be prepared. And we're going to each need to become familiar with the document independently and individually in order to come prepared. And on AB 2897 on the Dominguez watershed, including Catalina Island, thank you so much for the news on that, Gwendolyn, and for Patrick informing us on Patrick O'Donnell's his consistent persistence in trying to get that through. So I'll contact his office and learn the timing, or if you don't already know, maybe you do, of how soon we might need to take action on that, which we've done before, I think at least once. We're pretty familiar, and we could repeat our previous support as soon as the next meeting as well as an agenda item. I'll find out, unless do you know right now, is it timely, Gwendolyn?
It is timely. It was introduced in March, and the situation is that actually I think that this time around our communities really need to not only support it but get the other cities that are involved, the unincorporated LA County cities that are involved, bring them into it. Maybe send it to the SCC, you know, the South Coast City Committee of Governments, the one that Lori is.
SCAG.
Yeah, South Coast Air Quality Minutes.
SCAG of governments.
Of governments.
Yeah, South Coast or Southern California Association of Governments. Yes.
Yes.
That's
SCAG.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll include it. Thank you, Gwendolyn, and Alan's been waiting. We'll, and without an objection, we'll include those two items for next meeting, AB 2897 and Healthy Buildings, Healthy Places. Mr. Franz, yes, sir.
I would like to add my thanks to Mel Wilson for joining us, not just for sharing with us his candidacy, but for staying and listening to some of the issues that are significant, at least to this small subgroup of San Pedro. I wanted to agree with Gwendolyn and Richard that the document on city landscape design standards has the potential, if it's not a smokescreen, to be an important avenue for input, but you never know how receptive the powers that be are to input. Curiously, in Richard's comments, he mentioned parks and Esri supporting parks. And I'm not sure whether you were aware, Richard, but the founder and still president of Esri, which most people have never heard of, the largest GIS software company in the world by leaps and bounds.
The founder of what?
You
said the founder? The founder of what?
Founder of Esri.
Oh, yeah.
The GIS company, which
Yeah.
most people don't know GIS does more than navigate cars. But at any rate, his brother, they grew up on a landscaping firm out by Redlands, but his brother was president of the state park system back 15 years ago or so. But anyway, the points I wanted to address really, first, Richard was too modest, but I would urge Mel Wilson and everybody else present to come down to San Pedro and White Point for Earth Day. This is Earth Month, and the official Earth Day is Friday, the 22nd, and the Saturday following, the 23rd. We have a volunteer event in which people can do something constructive to make the place better. If you haven't been down there, Mel, it's a city park that we co-manage as a nature preserve and have a nature education center where we host programs for school children from many parts of the Los Angeles area. And at any rate, we have a volunteer day on Saturday morning, the 23rd at 9 o'clock. There's usually coffee and donuts or some sort of snacks and free water, all the water you can drink, in fact. Um, as part of the weekend, just a quick mention, there are actually 2 films being shown at the beautiful Warner Grand Theater in downtown San Pedro. And Mel, if you haven't been to the Warner Grand Theater, you
I
have
have
to come
not.
to one of them.
I
You
have
have to
not.
come to one of these Friday night at 7 o'clock. The California Native Plant Society and the BVPLC are co-sponsoring a showing of Saging the World, about the plight of white sage, which has central ceremonial purposes for most Native American people,
Mm.
and which is being poached wholesale. The second film will be Sunday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's a film from the Wild and Scenic Film Festival. And this is the major annual fundraiser for the White Point Nature Preserve that I mentioned before. So you can get tickets for either of these films at the bvplc.org website for the Land Conservancy and the White Point managing team. And I better shut up, but thank you very much for the time, Richard.
Thank you. Gwendolyn, your hand again.
Sorry, guys. One more thing. Well, with that, with Earth Day, what happens every year that is important, get your iPhones out, and download iNaturalist. There's something called the City Nature Challenge that occurs globally every year, and it's going to be this year from April 29th to May 2nd. Now, it actually is kind of hosted by the Natural History Museum of in downtown Los Angeles, and this is an opportunity to create budding scientists. And it's basically wherever you are in your neighborhood, take pictures of everything and upload it. It's a snapshot of the world. It's a snapshot of the world, and all the nature that's around you. Even if you're in the most, what you think is ordinary place, take pictures anyway, because it's a valuable tool for scientists. And so, and really honestly, there are still salamanders in the middle of Los Angeles. Something like that could really upend and bring an ecologist down, a biologist, you name it, if there happens to be a plant or a species that wasn't photographed before and it's an unusual spot. So, City Nature Challenge 2022, and unfortunately COVID has really taken a bite out of it, but this is something that really needs to be part of even the LAUSD curriculum. That's about
You
it.
say that,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Gwendolyn, you say this is for budding scientists. Is there an age limit?
No, there is no age limit. Us old people are probably doing little hobbyist things like that, but it's about getting the kids engaged.
It's fun. I've done this before.
Listen to Gwen claiming to be old. I like that.
All right. Now we have a meeting to run. We have some items to get to, and we're approaching 6:30. And Mel had his hand up. Alan, did you have more to say? Or Gwendolyn?
No, but I'm going to get on the phone and try to get my other two participants.
Okay.
Find out what happens.
And we do have more public. There are 2 items I need to share, but Mr. Mel Wilson, the reason I can't see your hand is because the yellow on your banner.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I noticed that. And I was flicking back and forth because I couldn't see it either. So my vision is not the best either. But just as a introduction, some of you, Gwendolyn and I met, we had a good chance to talk about a month and a half ago. I'm a CSUN business grad. I was an All-American football player and played briefly in the NFL for the Giants and the Chiefs. And I've been married for, it'll be 49 years, June 16th, to the same wife, my bride, Bessie. But I really care about our climate, and I'm a business guy, but I think we can coexist, and we need to, because we won't exist if we don't. That's how simple it is to me. And my website talks a bit about the climate change phenomenon and what we should be doing. I want to see our city stop using concrete on these sidewalks and other types of services and use more permeable surfaces so we can capture the water. You know, years ago, I did a water tour up into the Mono Lake area. Our water is transported 240 miles, and you know, the San Andreas Fault goes across that water line a couple places because we'd be in big trouble if we have the big earthquake with respect to water in 3 days. So I want to see us capture water more, storm water and rainwater capture. I also want to see us do more, and in fact, encourage people to do home gardens, use gardens on the parkway so we can have actually food sources developed without having to go to the central part of the state. And we can actually take this food and sell it to the local restaurant as fresh organic food. So those are some of the things I want to do in addition to the air quality. You know, I just know that, you know, we can exist together. We need to, but it requires a focus and a commitment. And I go back to something really simple. If it's not in your budget, it's not a priority. That's how I see things. So I want to thank you again. I have a neighborhood coalition I need to get to, and I'm a few minutes late, but I wanted to listen a bit more. And Gwendolyn, would you please invite me, or Alan, invite me to Earth Day that Friday? I think I have some opening on that morning. Come by and I'll wear work clothes so I can volunteer a little bit, and then I'll head back to the other part of the city. So my website is melformayor.com. You can leave a message there. My cell number is 818-402-6708, 818-402-6708. Thank you again for your audience and for your commitment to saving our planet. I appreciate you.
Got a couple of items that would probably interest you.
Yeah.
I'll go. We have 2 items I need to update everybody on.
Mhm.
One is on the DDT field. And the report from Congresswoman Barragan's office that first off, I don't know if you all are familiar with the most recent update on the extent of the possible damage. That the other area is, there's an area number 2, which is closer to Catalina, actually the Two Harbors area, where the records uncovered indicate that not barrels were dropped, barrels of toxic material, but actually just containers were poured into the ocean in the 50s and the 60s. So how bad that is for scientists to establish. It could be that the objects are, because they're not on the bottom, that there was diffusion, dilution, and the prevailing wind and current moved the material over the course of the past 60 or 70 years in a manner where there was no concentration. But that is the area number 2 that has been identified, that is being researched, where more funding is being requested for research. So the update then from Sean Kearns, I appreciate, for Barragan's office, is that if you can see on the screen, last month the omnibus spending bill included a request from our 2 senators from the state of California for almost $6 million to conduct the pilot research program to survey and sample the DDT dumped off the coast, meaning in our area, sites 1 and 2, to determine our exposure and via the toxins that manifest in fish. There's no effort to establish the dump site as a Superfund site. There is a push to do that, and the EPA informed us that no remediation will begin until further surveying and data is complete. And that surveying and data is expected to be funded through some funding that is coming from the EPA as well, separate from the $5.6 million. The actions being discussed for Site 2, this new site of discovery is to document the history, to complete the final review of the records, to determine the extent of the drum disposal there as well, evaluate the trend, the prevailing winds and currents, and to determine what the threat to human life is. So it seems not much has happened other than a review of records to determine that there was more than we thought. And the more than we thought is that the material was actually just dumped freely into the ocean rather than in containers. That's one update I wanted to share. The other one is from the port, actually on the zero emission shipping. And Mel, this is one I think that might interest you very much. If you know about the C40 cities who established on January 28th, consistent with the Clydebank Declaration in October, and the City of Los Angeles resolution in November to establish zero emission shipping. That you heard it right, zero emission shipping, ships that have zero carbon, zero methane emissions by 2030. In the Clydebank Declaration signed at the Glasgow Environmental Summit, it was by the middle of this decade to have 6 zero emission corridors. At any rate, the C40 cities, which includes Los Angeles and Shanghai and the ports of Los Angeles and Shanghai and 100 other cities around the world, has agreed to provide an implementation plan by the end of this year, how they're going to achieve the goal of zero emission shipping by 2030. So thanks to Chris Patton informing us from the Port of Los Angeles, excuse my notes here, but the partnership, this is the C40 team, the collaboration of people working to get the zero emission by 2030, to organize industry, all participants necessary to achieve the goal. The partnership members met at the end of March, and they formed individual working groups that will define the specific action plans necessary to the tasks within this implementation plan they're going to provide by the end of this year. Their sections or their committees are definitions, interim goals and targets, stakeholder engagement, which may include us, and a international green corridor policy development and advocacy. The partnership will meet in mid-May to receive reports from these committees, and the stakeholder engagement team will meet in late spring to determine how they will proceed with stakeholder engagement. The partnership expects to have initial drafts of the implementation spring, initial drafts by late spring of the implementation plan by late spring, and the final implementation plan in November that they're going to present in China at the World Shipping Summit, which is now called the North Bund Forum. I'll have more detail on this specifically. I'm writing a more cohesive piece on this, so in summary on this item, let me say, the C40 cities stated that they will provide the plan by the end of this year to achieve zero emission shipping by 2030. This is a landmark goal. This is a technology that doesn't exist and is going to require development and interim goals along the way between now and 2030. Nonetheless, they've committed to provide an actual implementation plan with specific tasks and actions. And thanks to Chris Patton at the Port of Los Angeles, I must say, we're getting updates on their progress rather than the C40 group operating in a vacuum. We're being told what they're doing, what they're getting done, And it's our opportunity to engage however possible during the stakeholder engagement process that I think is going to open up later this year. So stay tuned on that. This is of great importance, as ships are actually the biggest contributor to pollution in Southern California, in our area, in the South Coast Air Quality Management District. Actually, the ports are the single largest contributor, and ships at the ports are the single largest contributor at the ports. So this is immensely important to the air quality in the South Coast region. And that's it for those two updates. We have a hand up. Yes, Gwendolyn?
Well, I'm going to have to sign off, but Richard, thank you for the update. Gwendolyn, if you could keep me connected, I'll look forward to seeing you on the 22nd.
I will. I did want to give you a link to something that's kind of a crash course in where shipping and the impact that shipping has had on the world, but also on
Would you like my email address?
yeah, that would be great.
Sure. It's my personal email address. It's melwilson2424@gmail.com.
That's easy enough to remember.
Okay.
2424.
Yes, that's it. Thank you all again. I'm sorry I have to bug out, but I will see you, some of you soon.
Thank you, Mel.
All right,
Mr. Wilson.
All right, bye-bye now.
We have a call-in attendee.
That's Tom.
Hi, Tom. Good afternoon. Is that Tom?
It is.
Great. And
I've got 3 birthdays.
oh,
Does that give us a quorum, Gwen?
We now have 4 out of 6 that does.
I might have done something. Tom, can you hear us?
I can now. Yeah.
Great.
Good
And
evening.
you were saying you have 3 birthdays. What was that?
Oh, I just this is a hectic week in my house. That's why I'm late on the phone. Well, I have 13 children, so we
I
always
see.
have a couple birthdays a month.
And is this Tom? Tom, what's your last name?
Pedro.
Thank you, Tom.
M-E-D-E-R.
I remember now. Sorry.
That's all right.
I want to ask if we should take up the agenda as in the order as currently. Oh, let me share the screen. What's up next? Because the next item would be, do we have enough people on the phone to begin discussing the NOP for the low carbon cement processing project?
Well, with that, I'm just letting you know, I received a text from Mary, and she needs the information to join. I'm going to send that to her, and she shall join momentarily. She did want to have input on this.
While we're waiting for other to join on that, does anyone object to me moving to the next item to briefly discuss the council file on the green hydrogen hub while we're awaiting more participants on the NOP?
All right.
If not, I'll proceed to that.
Yeah.
I'll need to get that open with your patience. I appreciate. Okay. The City of Los Angeles Council passed a motion that was put forward by Nuri Martinez and Mitchell Farrell what was the date? Excuse me, right now, I don't have on March 4th, which is sitting since the motion was passed. It is passed, however, it hasn't proceeded since it was passed. We could file a motion to support or wait and do more study. This concerns the proposal for that the City of Los Angeles, including the Department of Water Power and Port of Los Angeles, would participate as a request for a recipient of part of $8 billion of U.S. United States money, federal money, to fund 4 regional hydrogen hubs. If you're following this, and if you would, please follow with me on this. This is potentially significant. $8 billion for 4 regional hydrogen hubs across the United States. And coincidentally, last year we supported the LA 100 study, which established that the City of Los Angeles and the Department of Water Power could proceed to achieve a 100% clean energy grid by, right now, I don't remember what that year was, but it was a lot sooner than we thought. I think it was by 2035 or it might have been sooner. Informed people with scientific rationale studied the capability of moving forward to achieve 100% clean energy grid. That was with DWP, and we are within reach. Potentially, hydrogen could have some value. Briefly, while I'm going to the resolution, let me say to you all that some of you know that that the only way that hydrogen makes any sense, this is what I'm saying, so I'm not a scientist, but this is fact as established by scientific journals and scientific fact. But don't trust me, look it up yourself, so you can take it from a more legitimate source than me. But the fact is, nonetheless, that hydrogen only makes sense if it is produced from renewable energy. If you use hydrogen is produced in the past by using fossil fuels such as natural gas. It takes a lot of energy to create hydrogen. However, you can create hydrogen with renewable sources, and then the hydrogen is truly a renewable fuel produced from wind, solar, hydro power. Then hydrogen becomes truly zero emission. The issue with hydrogen at that point is if you burn the hydrogen, even if the hydrogen was created through zero emission means and is completely renewable and 100% no impact, no carbon, no methane, if you burn the hydrogen as a fuel, as is going to take place at the Intermountain Power Plant out in Nevada that now is converted to being capable of using hydrogen, you will increase nitrogen oxide emissions beyond what you would with natural gas even. So you lose the benefit of the hydrogen if you burn it. If, however, you store the hydrogen in fuel cells to be used as batteries to power electric motors, as in hydrogen fuel cell vehicles or hydrogen fuel cell heavy duty vehicles, or what may be possible with ships, you will benefit from zero emissions completely with no burning of the hydrogen. You're actually using the hydrogen to create electricity rather than burning it as a fuel. So two paths on hydrogen. One is, and we recognize this, one is must be created by renewable means, zero emission means, and must be stored in fuel cells, not burned as a fuel. So there are some drawbacks to what may be the result of a green hydrogen hub if the result is that we're burning that hydrogen. So I could understand reservation by organizations to this city council resolution, but the resolution moved to require that the DWP and the Port of Los Angeles work with partners and locally to create and submit a proposal to the federal government that the greater Los Angeles metropolitan area be considered for a green hydrogen hub as part of that $8 billion, one of those 4 green hydrogen hubs, and that the DWP and the port should engage with public and private academic sectors to further our green hydrogen hub serving the county, including the city of Long Beach, the LAX, University of California, others, and other utilities in Los Angeles County. The third of the resolution of 4 is that the DWP and the port collaborate on a climate emergency mobilization office. And the fourth and last of the resolution is that the DWP, in collaboration with the Bureau of Sanitation and the Port of Los Angeles, report to the council with recommendations on the usage of advanced treated water from the advanced water purification facility. We haven't issued the third issue on hydrogen is the use of water. So study could be required, and I volunteer to, because I don't know that we want to support this CIP without further investigation to determine exactly what we need to say in our support of the resolution and the city council action. But I put this before you, and I'll provide the link to you all on how to bring up this CIP, which is simply the well, it's the number, which is 22-0255, but I'll send it to you all if you're interested. Do we have any input on that? But that was one of the items on the agenda. So any comment on that? Yes, Richard.
I'm actually really more interested in the part about the Climate Emergency Mobilization Office and having the Port of Los Angeles and DWP actively engage with that body on carbon strategies to lower the carbon footprint. CMO is actually, I think they were, the current director of CMO was part of the team that wrote the request to get the funding for the Cool Blocks program. So there's connections there, and I forget her name, Lauren Bautista, I forget her name, but yeah. I want to empower CMO to be a hub for carbon footprint management for Los Angeles. So that'd be great.
I'll get this link to you. It sounds like it's not exactly as you referenced just there. It's as related to the hydrogen hub, but you can see the resolution and where it went. Okay. Yes, Gwendolyn.
Well, with this, is there more of a formulation of an idea of what these hubs will be? Is there any framework whatsoever? Is there any scientists and universities that are working on the infrastructure of what this is? I mean, you listed a lot, all sorts of concerns that, yeah, I also have. You can't just throw money at hydrogen technology without really considering all of it. I do have those concerns. And with that, the shipping industry, where are they going in concepts with hydrogen? I mean, it's so interlinked. It's very concerning. So
before we go to Alan, if I could say, not an answer to you, Gwendolyn, but some attempt at response, that the best recommendation I can make is to refer to the CIP that I'm going to send you, the link, and to read it, review it, and see what they're defining as the goal and what the collaboration is, which institutions are being suggested to be the collaborators. And secondly, to say that hydrogen offers great promise if it is simply established already. We know if it is simply produced by renewable means, perfect. As long as the hydrogen is not burned, if it is used as a fuel cell, just as you see the hydrogen fuel cell cars driving around, as long as the hydrogen that fuels them is produced by renewable means, perfect, perfect. Then the last issue to resolve is water consumption. Stanford University, by the way, has established that you can use seawater in the production of hydrogen, excuse me, the electrolysis, the method required to create the hydrogen. So that out to sea, for example, which is conceiving and potentially will become a hydrogen fuel cell creator, may be the model, using seawater right here, right down the street from all of us, may become the model of the future. As far as shipping, I don't know that the batteries, typical batteries have proven unsuccessful and impractical for heavy duty vehicle as a ship, and may work in heavy duty trucks. Yet we have other issues requiring resolution, infrastructure, charging infrastructure, so forth. So hydrogen fuel cells offer great promise potentially for ships as well, for electric propulsion. So there is a great future potentially dawning on hydrogen with its potential in as long as those three issues are resolved. And it's simple and elegant and done. Yes, Alan?
Well, just to follow up on your initial remarks and Gwendolyn's comments, and then your more recent comments, you've taken the time to study this proposal and pointed out several ambiguities or potential shortcomings in it. Can we encourage a motion or something to underscore the importance that we attach to addressing those issues about the manner in which hydrogen is produced and how it's consumed in fuel cells as opposed to burning or other alternatives, and the water use? It seems like that's something we could address with a motion, or the individual neighborhood councils could.
I'd like to myself, well, as a chair, I'm not going to propose a motion, but if I were going to be able to support a motion, I'd need to do a little bit more research on the water consumption. So I'm not prepared, and I kind of don't want to move something unless we're more cleaner on. And it was March 3rd or 4th was when this resolution was filed. I think we have some time, at least the next meeting. If we could address this at the next meeting, I'd be grateful. And that way I could get more informed also.
You're already the best informed here.
No, I appreciate that. I'm not even informed enough to be able to get somebody from an attendee to a panelist. So, but the one thing I'm really not informed on, Alan, is on the water usage. And I need to have, because if it is a water consumption issue, and if it's fresh water, then
You have a problem.
I'm thinking hydrogen myself, and I'm not a scientist, it's just me. But everything I read, because I'm looking at ships, the heaviest duty vehicle, and I don't know how we're going to power them. We're not going to be able to, there isn't battery technology within reasonable expectation right now that's going to solve the energy storage required to power a ship. Hydrogen fuel cell could do it. So I'm thinking it's potentially the future, but so I have great expectations until I look at the water consumption. So I'd like to look at that some more before I can participate in this and maybe suggest have any valuable input. And I see two hands, Mary Yan Yan, and I see an attendee that if you help me out here, is there an attendee that's trying to join and I'm doing something where you can't get into the meeting?
I believe that is still Tom.
Okay.
As a phone.
Thank you.
That's
Thanks.
Tom.
Thanks, Gwendolyn. We have three hands, Mary, Yan Yan, Pat, and then Gwendolyn. Mary, will you, if you would, please? I see Mary's hand. While we're waiting for Mary, can we go to Pat?
Yeah, I think a motion, it sounds to me like, first of all, what is the timing on the council action? is it worthwhile for us to show some support for the effort pending further study? So they know that we're looking at it and that we're interested?
No, neighborhood council has taken, nobody has taken action on this resolution. And the date was March 4th. I really would want to be more informed, and I would want to file one motion against the CIP just as a recommendation as the chair. I see no issue of timeliness at the and here, so if I could, from the top of the letter, it was the DOE, the Department of Energy will solicit proposals no later than May 15th, and submission. So that's to notify agencies across the country of the $8 billion for regional hydrogen hubs. But submissions are expected to be due later this calendar year. So later in the year, the city of Los Angeles potentially would submit a proposal and excuse me, a response to a proposal. Like the RFPs will be submitted May 15th. And we will have the opportunity as a city following May 15th to respond with a specific proposal. So I think we have time.
Okay.
I appreciate that question though. And Gwendolyn?
Too many, let me pass on that. It's just, yeah, I'll just really be looking at it and get a little more specific on.
Okay, and Mary, I think maybe it's okay now. Maybe your hand was up because I wasn't able to get you into the meeting, but you are now.
She's muted.
Oh, I thought I got her unmuted, but now it's muted again.
Hi.
Oh, good, Mary.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, there's a lot of things going on. Sorry I'm late. Just want a quick question, Richard, about the document we're talking about. Is there already something in place anywhere in the world? Or this is all brand new?
To my knowledge, it's all brand new, a green hydrogen hub, 4 across the country that are conceptually have not been established yet. Yes. And to my knowledge, none in the world. I know there's places where they create renewable hydrogen or are using it to create fuel cell to store in fuel cells. But not on the magnitude that the U.S. government, the Department of Energy, is proposing of 4 centralized hubs.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for asking. If we have no more on that, I'll be better informed on before the next meeting. By the way, Food and Water Watch, who attended our meetings for months, you may remember, opposes the resolution for one reason, because of the nitrogen, the NOx emissions from burning hydrogen, which we know, I think everyone understands is you might as well, you can't do it. Don't create the hydrogen if you're just planning to burn it, because then you're back into a NOx problem that you've already solved by using natural gas. You don't have that problem with natural gas. Why create it with hydrogen? So anyway, that's reason number 1 for Food and Water Watch. The second reason was because of water consumption, which that's my I didn't solve that before I came to the meeting, but I am gonna investigate that. Yes, Gwendolyn.
Well, one thought that I did have that, thank you for that mention. Well, with the shipping industry, clearly, if there is a way of manufacturing hydrogen on the oceans, if there is an ability to do that on each ship, that would actually benefit everyone. So this has a really great potential if then that's why I asked how far the shipping industry has has invested in this research, because that would actually be significant.
It'd be a wonderful solution if a method could be devised where you could create the on the ship. Yes.
I suggest we look at the Navy and the Department of Defense and see what they're exploring. Usually these kind of technologies come through warfare, unfortunately, but they do have the funds in order to come up with these kind of inventions. So maybe we should start finding out what's public access in development.
They have nuclear and they love it. So
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's really seriously talking about having many thousands of nuclear power reactors on commercial shipping.
I do recall that there is a national security issue. Yeah, nuclear is great because they don't have to stop at any port in order to fuel. But any technology that allows that is something that they want to look at. They do not want hubs of fueling for the military. They want a mobile force that is never in a location at any one given time. That, you know, it's really important for them to fuel while moving. So I remember that in a few documents.
So it's just a coincidental side effect that it doesn't put out a lot of exhaust fumes by burning diesel. I mean, I thought the initial adoption in the military was because the engines are quiet and they can operate more
And is
has
hydrogen
tactical advantages in warfare. But
is hydrogen a similar technology? I mean, is that something that can they run stealth?
yeah, good question.
Well,
But-
it is electric. I mean, it's a battery basically. The hydrogen fuel cell basically powers an electric motor, so it would be quiet. And the concept is great. That we're surrounded by hydrogen, and no more probably than in the ocean. I think it's the most abundant. Alan would know. Some of you correct me, but I think it's the most abundant. What is it? What are the things on the periodic
Element.
table?
Element, yes.
It's the most abundant element in the universe.
Hydrogen by far, yeah, 92% plus.
So thanks, Richard and Alan. Anyway, so it's simply would be an absolutely wonderful solution. The issue is creating it. And I don't know that could be done offshore without great solar and wind or hydro infrastructure and a grid to transport it to the power to somewhere to create it. That's the issue. It does take a lot of power. So, but yes, Gwendolyn?
One last little thought. Well, with that, it was recently announced that in the United States, wind power is the second largest energy producer at this point in the United States.
Wow.
So it is now officially second.
And Texas is #1 in wind.
Just wait till those snowstorms put out the natural gas and coal plants, and we'll blame it on the wind power
Oh, they already did.
and all the other great things in Texas. But we're off topic. So I'll be better informed on that, and anybody else who might want to be, and bring that. So that's the third item. Then I take, I believe, for the next meeting, so we can comment on that city council resolution. So far we have AB 2897, healthy buildings, healthy places, and the hydrogen resolution, and
State Assembly bill.
Exactly, got that. And then we have the agenda item that follows the NOP, which is the open spaces, green space, open space, and how we may engage with the city on requesting positive changes there. So we'll have a full agenda for the next meeting for sure, but back to this meeting. If no more on the hydrogen city council, hydrogen, the green hydrogen hub, let's move, if we're ready, to the NOP. We could move to the next item if someone requests, or if we have enough participants to discuss the NOP. Let's move to discuss the NOP if we do. What's your preference, committee? Do we have enough people here?
Sure.
All right.
We've got a majority of the Northwest Committee anyway, and we need to get that on the board agenda for the next board meeting in order to meet the time limit for comment.
Okay, then I ask if the committee would defer to the chair to allow one of our members, the Northwest Neighborhood Council, to walk us through a draft of what would be a summary of some key points related to we're talking about the agenda item now, which is to discuss the notice of preparation for the EcoChem cement processing facility, which is intended to be a low emission operation to the benefit of us all and the climate. And so I'm going to share the summary that was created thanks to the work of Pat Nave. And if on the screen, as I struggle through, shows for you all a document that I thank Pat for preparing. And if you would, Pat, walk us through your summary of the NOP and what you hope the Northwest Neighborhood Council that we would walk away with.
Sure. An NOP is one stage of the environmental process. It's the stage where somebody who wants to build something presents what they want to do, and then people can comment on it and help frame what's going to be studied in the EIR. EcoChem is a company that's going to import some crystallized iron slag, and it's going to be milled here and distributed and will become a partial substitute for cement in concrete. It has some benefits for the environment. There are several identified potential negative impacts. One is air quality, the second is truck traffic. Those are the big ones. The ports has had problems with dust products for many years. Coal and coke terminals are the biggest example. And this one is going to have a number of transfer points of very fine materials. So air quality is an issue. Truck traffic is a real issue, particularly for its impacts on Wilmington. They anticipate 35,000 round trip truck trips, but that's not how you count them. And when you do a traffic study, it's each leg of it. So a truck coming in is a truck trip, a truck going out of the terminal is a truck trip. So there's 70,000 truck trips a year in and out of that, out of the terminal at berth 191. It's up near the Banning's Landing area. The one thing that we should be asking for is for a traffic study. Somehow the industry has come up with a way of not including truck trips in a traffic study, but we certainly can ask for that. So that's one issue. I want to focus on the alternatives. One of the things that you do in an NOP and an EIR is you have to provide alternatives and then study them to see whether they are less impactful on the environment and still meet the objectives of the project. And in this case, they've listed 3, one of which is to do the milling, the grinding up of the product, mixing it with gypsum and so forth offshore in the areas that are, countries that are supplying this product. That would be Japan and Mexico, and then bring it here. And then that would eliminate 2 dust sources plus 2,100 truck trips a year for the gypsum that would be brought in and otherwise mixed on site. So that's alternative 3. The draft comment letter that also accompanied, and you could also put up, Richard,
can I interrupt here? I believe that the wrong version of the cover letter is up. Pat had created a more extensive.
It follows this, Gwen. Richard asked me to help keep it brief, to hit the main points early. So if you just scroll down, you get to what you have already seen. So Richard, put that back up on the screen and then just scroll down and you can see it. Anyway,
I'm trying. There it is.
Okay, well, this is the comment letter itself, the draft comment letter. And I'm hoping that what will come out of this is a motion and a second to forward this at least to our neighborhood council in Northwest for consideration, so we can get it on the agenda for the May meeting. It occurred to us, some folks from Wilmington and then Diana and I, that one way to cut down the truck traffic through Wilmington is to run an industrial side track from the nearby rail line, main line, down to this terminal. And instead of loading the material on trucks for transport to batch mixing plants, put it on rail cars, covered hopper cars, and take it to cement to batch plants where it can be mixed and into concrete and then distributed. And probably those batch plants are going to be a lot more central than and for processing than on the docks. So that's down toward the end of the project alternatives. Right there, stop right there. We have another suggestion. We suggest that EchoChem's alternatives also should include a sidetrack, and if implemented, then that one change would drastically reduce the number of truck trips and might well eliminate all of them through Wilmington. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, I could go on forever and get into all the details. This is 750,000 metric tons a year, 27 ships, with each ship taking 5 days, 120 hours to suction the material out of the ships and put into open storage stacks at the terminal, and then put into a milling plant where it would be ground down into the dust, to the fine dust type stuff that cement is known for, and mixed with gypsum, and then put back in open storage piles, and then put into 18-wheeler semi trucks by conveyor belt. So the dust potential is pretty big, and it'll be studied in the EIR. And then the truck trips are pretty big, and right now they aren't going to study them. But this is a comment letter is an ask to have the truck trips and a traffic analysis to determine what the impact on the neighborhood is, particularly since every single one of these trips, the only access is up Avalon Boulevard, at least to new Banning's Landing Park. It's being constructed as we speak, right at the corner of Water Street and Avalon Boulevard. That's it in a nutshell. As I said, I can talk forever. So anybody has any questions, fine. Otherwise, I'd love to see a motion and a vote. So at least that would take it. We have a quorum of the Northwest Committee, and it'll get us on the agenda for the May meeting. The comment period expires on May 11th.
So
Thank you, Pat. We have two hands, Gwendolyn and then Tom Norman. If you would, Gwendolyn first.
Well, before moving, there was one thought. Not only should it be an analysis of the truck trips, but best practices for those trucks. I mean, the difference between covering it, the type of cover that would be needed versus an open, as well as the climate. I mean, really honestly, Pat and I were talking about this when there was a wind event and we were having gale force winds through this area. So those type of things need to be also. I don't know if that can be expressed in some way within this thought, but with that,
let me say first, we would, if we're going to discuss
amendments.
we would first need to get a second. I think Pat first presented Pat, did you
I
present?
move it. Somebody could move.
Okay, do we have a second?
I was going to move or second.
Okay, then Gwendolyn seconded. And so before we go to Thomas, if you would, Gwendolyn, then but it sounds like in a minute you're going to suggest an amendment for a specific improvement to the letter. That might be how you would do it. Rather, you don't want to discuss it before you make the suggested amendment. Where did Tom go?
He's
Are you there?
right
Where,
there.
okay, great.
Let me respond to what Gwen said. The NOP does talk about covered trucks. The issue would be the open storage, and I think one of the alternative. I'm not sure. Can you scroll down a little bit? I think that maybe we did ask for an alternative to be covered storage, because part of their process and their milling thing is to remove the moisture that's in the raw material product. And that means if you put it out on an open storage stack after you've done the milling and stuff like that, it's going to blow all over hell and gone. And so one alternative would be to have covered storage. And we've talked to the EcoSem people, and if the community wants it, they said they would cover the storage. That's a potentially good mitigation for it. It doesn't always work. I can give you examples of how it doesn't or hasn't worked in the past. But anyhow, I don't see it here if we've talked about covered, but that certainly we can add that to it before it goes to the board, Gwendolyn. Talk about covered storage and the covered trucks was in the NOP for truck movement.
Or train movement.
Well, the hopper cars on the rail cars are covered. Yeah.
Okay, Thomas, for you, Tom Norman, your picture dropped. What's the TV show where the people you see them across the screen in the game show from the past. Anyway, suddenly you dropped off. I couldn't see you, and I knew you had your hand up, and that's why I said, "Where did Tom go? Do you have your hand up anymore, or no? Did you want to say anything?"
Oh, no, Singh, I didn't get to speak. I was going to move or second, but we've moved way past that. So I'm, just speak in support now that I'm being recognized of the motion. I've discussed it with Pat and I've reviewed it. So, I'd like for this joint, committee to consider it. And when Gwen proposes her amendments, I'll weigh in on that.
Thank you. Sorry, my lack of Zoom skills, but anyway, I don't think there are any hands up, though we had discussion of a minor.
Sorry, I don't have my hands up.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I just want to comment that I find that this being an uncovered material is very scary, unhygienic for the air and atmosphere and so forth. I don't understand why it is, but I guess it is normal. Those are my comments.
I believe there was suggestion of an amendment, but I don't see a hand up to make the amendment to add a phrase.
If it's not too late, if it is, okay.
Hey, can you go down to the alternatives again, set number 4 there, Richard? Why don't we stop right there? It would be good. Let's see. Why don't we add at the end of the first paragraph there, the processing offshore, why don't we add a sentence that simply says, all alternatives and preferred projects should include covered storage.
I wish they were all in individual sacks or some type of container.
Well, they're going to be big piles. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's, I've got tons of horror stories from my time working at the port on the coal and coke storage and the problems that those generated.
Right. That's all. I was just thinking that it's horrible. But thank you.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
good.
Good
I would
morning.
also say that, just to the members of the Northwest Committee, you know, we didn't have kind of joint work on this because of time limitations, but we do have a little bit of time between now and May the 9th. If we got together and wanted to doctor it some more, we can do that and present that in the agenda packet that goes to the May 9th Northwest Board meeting.
Pat,
Yeah.
I can put this on next week's agenda. Is everybody here willing to do a Thursday?
Don't get it done tonight, just in case they don't.
Yeah, get it done tonight so we don't have a thing. And then Thursday, I'm not gonna be in town.
Sounds
We're
good.
gonna be gone.
All right. In regards to the study, the EIR, well,
I'm afraid I have to stop you, please. I think we have a recommendation for an amendment, and we need,
yes.
or a motion. So we would need to have a second for that
Yes.
amendment. And I can't tell if the way I have it before, Alan, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest a slight modification to your additional sentence,
Good, but
if I may.
so please go ahead, and then let's see if we can get a second.
Well, I would simply, because the preceding paragraph doesn't make it entirely explicit what the issue is with coverage, just adding some verbiage, a physical means or barrier to reduce particulate transmission.
Yeah.
Because that's really been the most serious issue with air quality from the port, whether from diesel or other sources like this, is the particulate air pollution.
of particular matter by wind or other forces.
Yeah.
Right.
To the effect is that
And maybe instead of reduce to minimize or eliminate, reduces.
Yeah.
And better.
Eliminate.
Thank you.
That's not as clean as I'd say it if I had more time. I'm not as so good at
That works. It gets the point across. You know, I really think that if all four NCs put past this thing, we can get the preferred alternative change to something that has the rail line in it and the offshore processing and the covered stacks too. I really think that will happen.
In storage, the product in storage and transit.
Is that what your suggested amendment is, Pat, close to?
It certainly works for me. I'll second it if.
Who moved it? I thought you moved it.
Yes, and I'm seconding it.
Okay. Is it okay? So now let's discuss it. Does it say what we want?
Coverage of the product in storage and transit.
Yeah, that works. I counted 9 transfer points in this operation. Every single one of them is going to generate particulate distribution in the air. So yeah, it just does it.
Must have an requirement, not include. It's getting a little.
I know there's too many words, but
I think you can take out the word. Yeah, why don't you just take out the words requirement for? They don't really need to be there. I mean, back in the day when Kaiser was storing coal, they had a full-time street sweeper that swept the streets, Harbor Boulevard and other streets in the area. They had to, because stuff was, leaking out of trucks and everything else.
And I've gone by cement factories when the wind has picked up, and
it's nasty.
Awful.
Yeah. spent some time in Toluca, Mexico. Or,
So can we vote on the amendment and then vote on the underlying motion? We're running out of time here.
Could
Thank
I
you.
suggest, Richard, maybe adding the word harmful in front of particulate matter?
Well, particulate matter is getting your lungs no matter what, so harmful
Yeah.
or not, I don't want them in
Yeah,
there.
harmful or not, yeah, doesn't matter.
I'm pretty sure
Right.
just particulate matter.
Yeah. Anyway,
So, all right. And there probably are too many words there that don't need to be there. So if there are any, please delete them as you may. But okay, so do we have a motion to approve the amendment? I mean, wait, I'm the chair. So do we have a call for the vote to approve the amendment?
call for the vote.
And
If
Yeah,
needed.
please.
let me ask, rather than me taking a roll call vote, if we have anyone that might speak against the amendment or would vote against the amendment. If not, I'll take it as by unanimous. Anyone opposed to the amendment? All right, the amendment passes. Now we're back to the full motion to approve the comment letter for submission to the NOP. As comment letter would, this would be approved by, I take it, the Northwest Neighborhood Council, but I would take this letter with the letter that I had drafted already, because I had to provide something information to you all for the Coastal Neighborhood Council agenda meeting this past Monday, because I couldn't wait till now to get the letter. So we have on the agenda for next Monday, this coming Monday, Coastal Neighborhood Council Board meeting, a letter, and I will attach this letter to it, or the intent of this letter within our letter.
Oh, great, that's good. I'll take care of with Lou Caravella and Gina Martinez to see if we can get it on the agendas for the Central and Wilmington.
Can I ask a quick question? Have they already pretty much established the scope of the movement of these materials, or will there be tremendous growth in the future of import of this?
They would love to substitute out cement completely. There's 6.4 million metric tons in the Southern California market area that they're aiming of cement, and this is 750,000 metric tons of substitute for it. So about 9 or 10% of substitute for existing cement. So that, you know, I suppose there's market growth. I think the ship calls per year, 27 ship calls with 5 days for unloading for each ship and everything. With turnaround times and other kinds of things, there are some physical limits on the use of this particular terminal for expansion. But you know, this kind of product and this kind of milling operation and stuff could go other places, and they could open up for other markets as well, maybe up at Port Hueneme or elsewhere. They're just aiming at the Southern California market with this terminal.
Now, this material in regards to health, has it, is there already a known relationship to anything with humans? Have there been studies as far as the impact of this particular powdered product?
The answer is, as far as I don't know the complete answer to this. I know that there are terminals like this elsewhere in the world with this company. And the part of it that I do know is that particulates that are, you know, 10 microns or smaller, and particularly the ones that are 2.5 microns and smaller, are harmful no matter what they're composed of. This material is crystallized iron slag. It's the residue that's in iron smelting that has water blown on it. It cracks it and it crystallizes it. It looks like sand in its raw form, but it has to be milled into dust basically to be useful for the cement manufacturing.
But it's environmentally much better than the current.
Yeah, the selling point for this material is that it takes only about 10% as much carbon emissions to manufacture it.
Right.
So that's a big selling point for it.
I
So
think
that's why-
Alan, I'm sorry, after you get through, Pat, I think Alan had his hand up.
I'm done.
Okay.
I
Thanks.
was just going to ask, since Pat seems to know something about the source material, but you mentioned it forms like sand, which is often a silicate, and silicates make particularly nasty particulates.
Well, it looks like sand. It's kind of brown in the nature. I'm suspecting it's probably pretty heavy because of its, because it comes from iron slag.
Mm. We
Not
often
crystal.
use sand in that production. So is it a silicate sand or a calcium based or?
I don't know. It comes from iron, Alan. It gets mixed with 3% gypsum. So gypsum is trucked into the
It's
terminal.
calcium carbonate.
Yeah, and then mixed with in the milling process when it's converted to a real fine dust material. That would be done offshore in alternative 3. If they adopt alternative 3 as the preferred project, and it's done offshore, then we wouldn't have the gypsum and we wouldn't have the milling in Los Angeles Harbor.
The NOP explains the environmental benefit. I'll try and pull it up while we go to Gwen.
Can we make suggestions? Is there anything that might be unusual about an EIR with this being a newer technology and the volumes that are being predicted to be shipped into this port? Is there any suggestions we can make to the EIR?
Well, yeah, the draft EIR will be out in a year or 18 months, something like that. It's going to take them about 18 months in the EIR preparation process. We're just helping frame, our suggestions now help frame what they study. In particular, the reason I'm harping on the alternatives so much is that the law requires inclusion of feasible alternatives and a study as to which ones are the most environmentally sound and still accomplish the objectives. The problem is that once there's a preferred project, and the preferred project is the one that has the milling included and 70,000 truck trips and all of that, that really gets a lot of study, and the rest get dismissed when they go to discuss the alternatives. They do it in 1 or 2 sentences. So if we should do everything we can to try to get them to study an alternative in more detail and maybe adopt alternative 3 with the rail line as the preferred alternative, offshore milling and then transportation by a rail car.
As stated in your letter.
Yeah.
To Alan's, if we could, the notes taken from the NOP, Alan, in response to your, well, actually the environmental benefit, and as stated in the NOP, the reason this is an improvement over current cement production is, this is taken from the NOP. If you can see on your screen, production of cement is carbon intensive.
No, almost any alternative to cement is an improvement in terms of air quality, at least particulates. Again, if anyone's ever been to Tula in Mexico, which is a famous archaeological site, but also the home to 2 of Mexico's largest cement plants, it is just awful, awful, awful.
Right. And not only that, the carbon production, the contribution to carbon, long-term climate impact. But you see there that Ecochem has I think Pat's learned all this directly from Ecochem, but it is stated in the NOP. It's 10%. Their energy consumption of the process is 10% of the cement process. It's low carbon binder technologies. It's a partial substitute for cement. Sounds like, from their NOP anyway, the process and product is less environmental impact than typical or standard cement production. But that's just going off their NOP. Pat, is that a pretty good response to Alan's question regarding the material?
Well, it was an accurate, it was, what you said is quite accurate, and Alan will have to be the judge whether it's responsive.
Okay. Alan, I don't know that we have much more. I mean, I think that there was a great question about the molecular structure of the particulate. I don't know if it's crystal or not, which could lodge more easily, but they've documented fairly objectively their benefit. But Gwendolyn has had her hand up. I'm sorry, Gwendolyn.
So I only have one last question. Do they already have a determined site where this stuff will be offloaded to, and which terminals will be used and which routes will be used? Because it would be limited, I would hope.
Well, it's at berth 191 to 194. And Richard, you can pull that up. It's early on in the NOP. You can show where it is. You get to it by going down Avalon Street from Bridges Boulevard. You turn right off of, if you're going east, you turn right onto Avalon down to Banning's Landing. You know where Banning Community Center is? And you turn left on Water Street there and go to the end and turn right on Yacht Street and go down to the end past the USC rowing center.
Yeah, the rowing, yeah.
Right, and there's a fire department training center down there too, and there's about a 5-acre site right at the end. Berth 191 is the offloading site. That's the wharf, and then there's 5 acres of backland that's there. That's where they'll construct the milling plant and have the open storage.
Well, as Wilmington will be most impacted by, I mean, they're in the closest proximity to this. What are their thoughts? Have you heard any feedback from them?
Oh yeah, I went out there with Gina Martinez, who's president of Wilmington Neighborhood Council, and Gail Fleury. Both of them were supposed to be here tonight. They're hot to move. I mean, that group is on fire. As a side note, I would like to. They actually had a public hearing on this NOP about a week ago. The port conducted it, and there were only 2 people who attended and spoke. I was one. And the other one was Lucia Moreno Linares, who is a Board of Harbor Commissioners commissioner. And she said, it's hard to believe these truck numbers are not going to have a tremendous impact on Wilmington. That was the comment. Yeah, they're going to pass this. This is going to be on their April 26th agenda.
So they're truly in support of this as well. Okay. I want to make sure that.
I mean, I've been attending their meetings, and my comment to them is, "You're on fire, gang." I mean, they are. You talk about you talk about trucks in Wilmington, and man, it's like lighting a match under them. They'll go right through the roof on it.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that what we have here is also in support. Wilmington is already.
Well, yeah, she works till 7 or 7:30 on Thursday nights. Gina Martinez, I can call her and say, "Hey, Gina, come on in. You support this?" I mean, I know she does. I've talked to her a number of times on it.
Okay, well, that's all I wanted to know is that that what we're about to vote for Northwest is, you know, I don't want to vote something that impacts another community due to their closer proximity.
I think it's a really good point, and it's going to get to their neighborhood council before it gets to ours, so we'll know.
Okay.
On April 26th, if they pass it, then we'll know.
And we could potentially make an amendment prior to and deliver to the executive board. Okay. All right.
Sure.
All right. Well, with that, are we ready to vote?
Yes, it's been moved and seconded, right? So we can.
Yes, it has. It was originally done so.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was on mute and didn't know it, but we have a call for the question. All those, and let me ask this, Would anyone speak in opposition to moving the letter as amended, the final product from tonight's meeting?
Is this a vote for Northwest or for everybody?
Well, the meeting is the joint San Pedro Neighborhood Councils, and so I would be taking this letter as the coastal board member of the meeting tonight, you and I, Alan, to the coastal board for them to approve it. But I wasn't able to. I'm going to be bringing it as an amendment and possibly as an attachment to the letter that I had to draft in advance of this letter.
Right.
But anyway,
and we have 4 members. We have 4 members of our committee here, and so that's a quorum. And if we all 4 vote for it, then we can represent it as a coming out of committee. I would think, yeah.
To the Northwest Neighborhood Council.
Yes.
We each take it back to our neighborhood councils for their approval by some means. In my case, I'm going to take it either within the letter that I had to draft to have ready or as an attachment to the letter.
Yeah.
The
You want to change the
Central's left out.
signature block, probably. It's right now it's Christian Guzman, who's our president. But you'll change that.
And Alan, what did you say about Central?
We're just saying, does Central have anybody here?
They were supposed to. They're not here. It's I've got it outlined with Lou Caravella, the president, and also with actually James Allen and Frank Anderson to take it through their agenda setting committee and then on to their committee.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there is a mechanism to get it on the agenda.
Yeah.
And that is the comments are due by May 11th. So as long as Central is able to meet that target. For coastal, I got to do it by this Monday, whatever we submit.
Yeah.
So if that was an adequate answer to the question, Alan, we move
Thank
to
you.
vote. So the members of the committee I see, I'll just, I'm going to ask the members, I'll go from what I can see on the screen. Gwendolyn, what is your vote? Gwendolyn Henry?
Yes.
Richard Watson?
Yes.
Alan Franz?
Yes.
Thomas Norman?
Yes.
Pat Nave?
Yes.
Okay, thank you all.
Mary
So
Chan.
what- Mary Chan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tom Mater.
And Tom Mater. Yeah.
Thank you so
Tom
much.
Mater, yes.
Tom Mater, yes. And Marianne Yan Chan?
Just call me Mary, everybody. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And I can't see your full name. I'm struggling with this Zoom, and I'll be so glad when we're back in person. Maybe not, but anyway. Oh, there it is, Marianne Yan Chan. Okay. Did I get everybody, Gwendolyn?
He did.
All right, great. Thank you. And thanks, thanks, Pat. Thanks, Northwest Neighborhood Council. Thank you, Tom. Thanks for all your work, Gwendolyn and Mary, and Tom. Thanks very much for Northwest leading the way on many of these items. We end up taking your letters and coastal often and just supporting the letter, either with an attachment or just as is. Thank you so much, Northwest.
Let's say one more thing. Today,
Yes.
the notice came out for the concert center on the main channel in West Harbor. So that's got a 30-day comment period too. So a month from now, we'll have to have comments on that.
What?
The Nederlander Concert Center on the main channel and West Harbor, the notice of preparation was posted today, and it has a 30-day comment period too.
Do
So
they have a design, a tentative design?
I've seen a couple, but I don't know, just in their meetings that they've gone to present it. I don't know. I looked at it briefly, but didn't read it yet. We're gonna have to really move fast if we're gonna get those comments.
Well, with
Which
this,
way is it aimed?
Pardon?
Which direction is it aimed?
Oh, it's not gonna be aimed at the community, I can tell you that. The ones I've seen have it aimed down the
towards
channel.
the water.
Okay,
Well, with this, Tom, thank you for joining us. Say happy birthday to your wife. Happy birthday to you belatedly.
And to my 8-year-old.
And your
Oh.
8-year-old, yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, so much for being here.
Yes,
My
thank
pleasure.
you for
Thank you.
participating. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Back to the agenda. Oh, wait a minute, that's not the agenda.
Yeah, that was.
It was?
That was
Yeah,
it.
Was,
Did have
It's
it.
just, it's the greenscape, and I'm wondering, we've hit our time limit. It's supposed to be done at 7:30.
We
Motion to extend?
we can extend as long as somebody isn't trying to get in on the, we've had a problem where there's another meeting starting at 8, but so far I haven't gotten anybody texting or calling to say they're waiting to get into the Zoom. As long as we don't have that, we can continue.
My wife is,
Do you want me to bring it up here? Or do you want to?
my wife is telling me the dinner is ready.
Okay. We do have an item, that we carry forward that I want to make sure that we're either going to be able to address at least partially. And Pat, I understand. And
if I
Tom?
could just comment briefly.
Yes, Alan?
Richard, I think one of the directions that this can go, this agenda item on open space, green space, is to have another look at the city landscape standards that are being reviewed. So perhaps we can focus on that. And then I would like to, I've spoken, I think, with Richard previously, and perhaps a couple others on the idea of taking another look at the San Pedro Urban Greening Plan and maybe updating that somewhat as a goal, but I haven't had a chance to do anything. It's nice to see Mary. I haven't seen you in a long time, even if you're just a little box.
Gwendolyn.
Is planning and land use putting in input in this? I mean, clearly there's many committees that could contribute.
Yeah.
Okay, Alan, if you could keep me in touch when those things are discussed. Yeah, that would be great.
And I'm gonna, you remind me, since I've had an issue with other chairs to not get into what is their business, I need to coordinate in the Coastal Neighborhood Council with the Chair of Planning and Building on the healthy buildings, healthy places. So that if they prefer to cover that they do, by the way. So on each of the items, then with Alan's statement regarding the landscaping standards that must be reviewed before we proceed further on open space, green space, we have items on the agenda for next meeting, including the Assembly Bill 2897, the O'Donnell effort regarding the Dominguez Channel to Catalina. We have healthy buildings, healthy places, which it requires actually review that we come prepared. We have the hydrogen fuel cell city resolution, which I owe you information. And then there's the open green space, which would require some preparation beforehand that Alan, you might prepare. Yes, Alan?
I'm sorry, I might have mentioned this earlier, but another angle on this that some people might be interested in, on May the 17th, the California State Parks Foundation is having a Parks Advocacy Day. And for people interested in open space and green space, you can go to the California State Parks Foundation website. And if you are interested in participating, this is actually going to Sacramento and getting a quick preppy class and then lobbying a couple of state legislators, usually your own. But it varies. I've done it before, and it feels like a constructive use of a day if you have some place to stay in Sacramento. That's it.
Yes, Gwendolyn?
Well, actually, this goes back to Richard's intro, and with the green space. As far as the funding is concerned, the Native American community in California was provided, I believe it was $20 million in order to purchase lands. I think that's the correct amount. With that goal in mind, to expand to what was it, 35%? 35% of California?
30 by 30.
Yes.
Get to 30% by 2030.
And like I said, the within California, the Native American tribes have been given a good portion of funds.
Yeah, you
I must
mentioned-
get us back to the board, the agenda item number 5, though, Gwendolyn. That's the subject we're discussing. And so,
Well, with regard to state parks, again, which are an aspect of open space and green space, I would mention that one of the top priorities on the agenda of the California State Parks Foundation is incorporation of more Native American perspective on the interpretation of state park sites, which can serve as a model for other regional parks as well.
Locally, what did we? I remember Ron Galperin gave the parks an F grade, didn't he? Way back when, on this one of these last evaluations. I'm wondering, as far as San Pedro and the harbor area, where are we as far as grades for open space? And maybe we should really fight for having more of it.
We're in better shape than most of the city. Actually, I mean, 25% of all Los Angeles parkland is in Griffith Park, which is not particularly convenient for us. But South Central, South LA is worse off, and obviously parts of San Pedro are better off than other parts of San Pedro.
Right. But for the harbor, it would be great to come up to bat for some of the other communities. Unfortunately, Wilmington is kind of sharing the lake over there with Harbor City. You know, they're the
We
map.
have that new waterfront park in Banning Park, but not much else.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
so will we have any for our next meeting or for this meeting? Do we have any actionable?
I'll give myself an action item if you're interested. I would propose to research the 30 by 30 initiative that's been put out by the state and find out specifically what they're planning to do with regard to urban space, because it's easy to just go get more Mojave Desert and put it under conservation or whatever and hit their 30% goal, but that doesn't serve residents very well. Although Joshua Tree seems to be a popular destination these days. So I would research that, bring back findings, find out how that state initiative might align with more local city and county initiatives that would, with the goal in mind to identify parcels to convert to conservation use.
With that, Richard, trees and shade is one of the greatest contributors to making a livable city. And there are so many places that don't have it. I hope that is something that is attended to as well. You know, they talked about 1 million trees in Los Angeles, and it's not a really.
Yeah, more palm trees, more palm trees.
So wait a minute. We have, thanks to Richard Watson, demonstrated. We have a something that's going to get done here, for lack of better words. So I want to make sure. So it's the 30 by 30, because if you don't mind, Richard, I mean, if you would please, then that we would hope that or expect that at our next meeting, when we take up this item, you would report on what you've determined.
Yes, I'll do like a feasibility analysis or an informational gathering and report back. Action item. That's what I had in mind.
That would
I think
be.
it was one of Gavin Newsom's campaign slates, pledges.
That would be great. And maybe we can move forward on this. Now, Alan did, before we come back to you, Gwen, bring up the City of Los Angeles landscape standards under review for comment. I believe, which came from our last meeting. So we have not commented, and I don't remember what that link was that we discussed at the last meeting, but we discussed that they were open for review, and we've not taken the action to do that review or brought anything back.
Well,
But there was that as well.
Yeah, we're gonna let Pat have dinner.
Okay, yeah, well, let's let Pat, please, anytime, if you need to go.
Yeah,
But
she's giving me the eye.
well, that's because you're
Getting cold.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you,
man.
gang.
Thank you, Pat, so much.
Yeah,
So Richard, if I can find that link, I'm going to get it to you from our last meeting.
Okay.
Also, because we at least introduced the concept of commenting on the landscape standards as a means to follow up on the open space, green space. Yes, Gwendolyn?
And regarding AB 2897, I will try to combine and incorporate that into this open space plan. That would bring tremendous funding for watershed, releasing the shores, and actually restoring the river and the watersheds. So also, the Department of Biodiversity, that motion, is that still in? I really think that incorporating native plants and the whole agenda of the Department of Biodiversity to collect and to actually create a portfolio of all of the plants and species that are within Los Angeles, I think that needs to be stepped up. They are a poorly funded department, and what they're supposed to be doing actually is supposed to drive like this plan, the plan that we are discussing, the future plan of open space and the livable city. The one that I just,
Yes, Alan?
I think Gwendolyn addressed the issue well enough. I think I was gonna consider using the revision of the San Pedro Urban Greening Plan as a format for addressing some of those issues that Gwendolyn just brought up. It's a way we can maybe tackle it locally and then share it with other areas, but do it in a way that coordinates between biological foundation, good biological science and public policy. Thank you.
We could make a comment. We would just someone would need to bring a recommendation and we could consider it and do that. Any further on this for now? And as I understand, we're carrying this item forward along with the others we've discussed. That's 4 items for next agenda. Let's hope that, well, for now, we have no other, and they do pop up, these items do pop up, but for now, those are the next items for the next meeting, which would be the second Thursday in May at 6 p.m. And I appreciate the work of you all very much and your participation. And Richard Watson, I appreciate learning more about Cool Blocks and that you're participating in our group. And I'll look forward to the May 1st announcement, so I'd like to know, I'd like to maybe see that in action myself. I'm going to get to you all the city council resolution on the hydrogen, the Department of Energy $8 billion proposal for 4 hydrogen centers across the country. And that's all I have for now. Do we have anything else before someone might make a motion to adjourn.
A quick question. When's the next meeting?
Well, easy to remember, maybe the second Thursdays of the month at 6 p.m. So that would be
Got it.
12th,
the 12th.
12th, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Got it. Thanks.
1 week after, it's not Cinco de Mayo, just the next week. All right.
Okay.
And Mary Yan Chan, thank you, Mary. Nice to meet you. And Thomas, you've been at meetings before, but I've never actually spoken as much maybe until this meeting. Have had such a small group where we could learn as much from each other.
You know, pleasure working with you. Well-run meeting. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And anything else before we close? All right. Thank you all so much. Great work. I really appreciate your work, and thank you. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
You too.
Time.
Take
Thank
care,
you,
everyone.
Richard.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.